Hi there and welcome. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2 of this series, I encourage you to go do so now. Otherwise, you're not going to have a clue what I'm talking about, and you're especially not going to know what a horse has to do with it. So I'll put the links down below, and please watch till the end. I have some surprising results that I would like to share with you, and so many people, myself included, we're just told to forgive and forget when we're hurt, and that is just completely impossible. We're not told how. So I share some steps that I came up with in my research and that I'm using myself. I list them at the end. Stick around for that and we'll see if they help you. I left on August 29th, and like a week or so before Thanksgiving, now keep in mind by then my horse, my daughter found out he'd sold the horse, and she called him begging. I called him begging. He sold my horse to my mentor and friend that I thought was my friend. I called her. I did not want to sell my horse. It wasn't about money. Anyway, so the weekend before Thanksgiving, he was working out of town, and I got him to agree. The attorneys, we were talking through attorneys, and we came to the agreement that he would let me come stay at the house and get it ready for sale, pack up my stuff. He promised to stay away. When he would come home on weekends, he would go stay at his mother's house. Or if he wanted to come to the house, I would leave and go see my daughter, friends, whatever. I said, never do I want to be there when he is there. So that week I spent packing up stuff, cleaning house, and that Saturday I got a really funny feeling, like a really negative. I just had this feeling he was going to show up, and there I was, you know. I didn't want to be there alone. So I can remember hurrying up, changing my clothes. I didn't think to take my overnight bag and my everyday things that I had to have all the time. I just left and went to my girlfriend's house. And it's really a good thing that I did, because no sooner did I walk in her door and he called my cell phone and was, so angry, ranting, raving that I was not there. He was so angry that I was not there. And the only good thing about that conversation was I let my girlfriend talk to him. My daughter might have been on the phone with him, trying to calm him down maybe. I called the process server and said, okay, now's our chance. Go serve him. Luckily, he took a witness with him, and they recorded everything because he really showed himself. He really showed the crazy. It wasn't just me. So we got him served. I don't believe I ever communicated with him after that, if it wasn't through attorneys. I blocked him from my phone. I didn't want to deal with the nastiness anymore. But what ended up happening was, because he took my stuff, I did not have my glasses, my toothbrush, my medicine. I didn't have my everyday stuff that I need. We were coming back from seeing my family for Thanksgiving. My daughter called him to see if we could come by and pick it up. He promised not to be there. He did. He promised he would not be there, that we could get my overnight bag and just my personal things. And we pulled up, wouldn't let us in. Wouldn't let us in for me to get my stuff. And I mean, I felt okay because my son-in-law and my daughter was with me, and had the doors locked. So he had us locked out of the house. I just remember getting so angry. So angry. I literally saw red. I was so done with someone controlling me, someone pushing me around. I walked around to the back of the house, and I picked up this rock, and I still have this rock. This rock is a symbol to me. This is you are not screwing with me anymore. You are not walking all over me anymore. I picked up this rock around back, and I broke out the back window of the back door so I could reach in and unlock. And I tore through that house. I just remember hearing a buzzing in my head. I was so angry I couldn't even think straight. I mean, reason was gone. Common sense was gone out of my head. I was not afraid of him in that moment. I just wanted my stuff. He called the police before we even pulled in the driveway, just so he could get me in trouble. I mean, he instigated it, and I couldn't find my stuff. His truck was parked out back. After I figured out, okay, he's put it in his truck, I walked out back and I opened the back door of his truck, and sure enough, right there was my overnight bag and my makeup bag. I reached in and I grabbed him, and about that time, he grabbed my arm and yanked me out of the truck, and as he pulled, I came out swinging. And I hit him with the makeup bag. And I'm just going to tell you right now, if I had known I was going to get arrested for that, I'd have used that rock on his head. That is how much I disliked that person at that point. Because, you know, the police were called, someone has to get arrested, and they asked me, did you hit him? Well, why lie about it? Of course I did. Yes, I hit him with the makeup bag. Well, they had to arrest someone, and my daughter was like, well, arrest him. He's the one that grabbed her arm. He had no right touching her. But see, he always thought he could push me around. I was done with that. I was done. I was done with being pushed around. I was done with having an idiot control my life. I had allowed it to that point. I allowed all of this. That's what I had to forgive myself for. I allowed it. Here's something I feel really, really strongly about. If you're in a relationship or a marriage and one person wants out, let them out. You don't own them. You have no right to touch anything that's theirs. Marriage license does not give you control of them. So don't. Why do you want someone that doesn't want you? If you're in a relationship where you feel you need to look at the other person's phone, check who they're talking to, check their text messages, guess what? You shouldn't be in that relationship. We should trust people until they give us reason not to. Funny thing about being arrested, and it is funny, I just kind of looked at it as an adventure. I really wasn't upset. I mean, by that point, I was just kind of laughing. You know, the rage had drained out of me, putting the rock through the window. I mean, all that adrenaline just drained me, and I'm just laughing at that point. Arresting officer, we walk in to the sheriff's station, and they're booking me. You know, I'm getting my picture taken and getting my fingerprints done, and the desk sergeant asked the arresting officer, what'd she do? They were whispering like I couldn't hear him. And he said, she hit her husband with a makeup bag. And then he added, and he is twice her size. That was right after Thanksgiving. That's when he decided to move in with the ex of the farrier. It took me 1.5 years to get my divorce. It shouldn't have, but it did, because of all the fighting. He lived with her nearly 1 year and started dating another woman while he lived there. And I think those two got married within like 3 months of our divorce being final. So, another thing that happened, and this was actually right after the divorce was final. It was that next summer. He ended up taking his other 2 horses to a place where my daughter was actually able to work them, keep them conditioned through the week so that they could go compete on the weekends. And was Finn. She was doing really good with him, and her husband and I tried to warn her, you know what, be careful, he'll end up taking that horse away from you, he'll put his new wife on it. And she said, oh no they won't, you know. Yeah, well, guess who was right. 3 years ago, if anyone had asked me if I was over all this, I would have said yeah, because I didn't talk about it anymore. I really thought I had dealt with it all. Not this year, but last year at Christmas, my daughter gave me a blanket. And it was a lap blanket that she'd had a picture put on. And the picture was my state finals picture with red. I just immediately started bawling. I couldn't even talk. That let me know I wasn't over it. I thought I was, but no. What really got to me, how do I know I still have unforgiveness in my heart? Because of that's sadness, but I really didn't feel bitterness. So I thought I was pretty much over it. But just most recently, my unforgiveness is from the woman who was my friend, my mentor, that took my horse. My granddaughter's 9, and the last few months she's been on a hunt for a barrel horse for herself. That's all she can talk about. That's all she can think about. And she's so fortunate. Her Mimi, she has a Mimi who's awesome. Who is, my granddaughter's been riding since she was a baby, so she does very good. But her Mimi is teaching her to ride really properly and to work barrels. But she doesn't have her own horse. She wants her own horse. And when she was talking to me about it, in the back of my mind, I just was fuming towards this woman that took my horse. And that let me know I still got some unforgiveness issues to deal with. Struggling with the unforgiveness of, how do I forgive this woman? How do I let this go? I'll get there. I will get there. I'm gonna work on this. Again, my story is to just really illustrate how little irritations and anger and resentments can build and breed an unforgiveness. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you want to stop that. You want to know what I would do differently if I went back? The very first time he said something negative about a friend of mine or my family, I should have stood up. I should have stood up. It shouldn't have, even when he wouldn't let me sleep at night because I didn't agree with him, I should have just kept pushing and said, no, you either stop it now or I'm gone. That's it. The only way to not allow yourself to be walked on and be a doormat or a verbal punching bag is to stand up. And I know it's hard. I don't like confrontations. I hate them. I know what that feels like. But if you don't stand up, you are setting yourself up for a lifetime of misery. You know, when some people view divorce as a failure, I don't view it as a failure at all. I don't believe I failed. I look at it as a learning experience. I learned contrast. I learned what I like and what I don't like, what I admire and what I don't admire, what attracts me, what doesn't attract me, what I need and what I don't need, what I'll accept and what I won't accept. It was not wasted. I had amazing years with amazing little boys and family, in-laws that I loved, and I have an awesome daughter. I'm where I'm at right now because of everything I went through. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be as happy as I am now. And I know crying doesn't look like I'm happy, but I am. I just having this little issue with some unforgiveness. I miss my horse. No matter what any of us did, I didn't deserve that. No matter what you do, you don't deserve to have things taken from you that are yours just because you want a divorce, just because you want out. Just because you can't take it anymore. I'm struggling with unforgiveness of someone who was a friend, I thought, and a mentor. We competed with them. We went to dinners with them. We went to their place and helped each other. I'm trying to find positive, and I've not been able to find a positive from it. The only thing I've been able to come up with is, you know, the universe, it does look out for us. Maybe there was going to be an accident I had on that horse, and maybe this is the universe's way of protecting me. Maybe because she was older, she was to the point she had to wear Velcro on the saddle to stay in it, and maybe because I did do a good job training him. It gave her a few more years of riding, you know. He took care of her. I know he did. I heard many stories of her almost falling off, but he'd stay under her. He went as fast as she needed him to, that she could handle. So maybe I just need to focus on those positives. And you know what? Maybe it could be as simple as that horse was not going to be good for my granddaughter. And if that's the case, then it was worth it. Here's some of my consequences. Just like I said, I don't get to have a relationship with my stepsons anymore. I don't get to see my ex-mother-in-law. I miss working our horses on the trails. I hate that my daughter has to now divide her holidays between parents, and that she can't even have a birthday for one of her kids and both of us be there because he apparently hasn't worked through his issues and can't be around me. And that's okay. For me, I hate it for my daughter. So if you think there won't be any consequences to your unforgiveness, things you've done or things you allowed in your past, you are deluding yourself. It will come back. They come back. It comes back to haunt you, bite you in the butt, whatever you want to call it. How do you know if you've truly forgiven? How do you know if you still have unforgiveness in your heart? You just need to really ask yourself questions. You know, bitterness and anger lets us know that we still have unforgiveness in our heart. I don't think sadness does. You know, I'm always going to be sad. I'm always going to be sad. I didn't want to be divorced. I loved my husband. I was angry. I was so angry for a long time. Why couldn't he just be nice to me? My anger and resentment towards the woman, that lets me know I'm not over it. How I'm learning to forgive. Here's the steps. Like I said, I looked online and found, you know, a lot of different sites, and they all said different things, but there was some common things that they said, and I picked these steps out as I felt these were doable. I felt like these made sense, so that this is what I'm trying. Number one, which I feel like I've already done, is acknowledge the hurt, who, what, and why. Write out the entire situation, all the details. I'm going to tell you that I wish I had done that back in the beginning. I do wish I had written it down, because when I sat down to write all this out, it was hard. It was so, if you think this ugly crying is bad, I have cried more in the last 3 days, and I hadn't cried since my divorce, other than the gift from my daughter. I mean, I really, it was painful. It was painful coming. It was coming back out of me, and it was as painful it was when the hurt was going in. So write things down, journaling. They say journaling is really important, and I'm just starting to learn the journaling thing. Just started it. I can see where that could be very valuable. Number two, consider how the pain that changed you, how harmful it was to you and someone else. I think I'm pretty much done that too. As I said, you stop talking negatively about that person. By talking negatively about them or the situation or the event or whatever, you keep it going. You keep that negativity going. It's another reason why I struggled with this, because I really had tried not to, hadn't for quite a while, and thought, how do I do this in a way that's not trashing, not continuing that embarrassment, I don't want to embarrass anybody. I don't want to create more drama. I'm so sick of the drama. I'm so glad it was all over. But I couldn't relay the points I want to make about forgiveness and unforgiveness if you didn't know exactly what I needed to forgive. Because if I can forgive all this, there's nothing you can't forgive. There is absolutely nothing you can't forgive. Now, imagine forgiving that person. When you start imagining forgiving someone, imagine it in your mind. What it does is it increases the neural circuits in our brain that have to do with empathy. And empathy is a huge need, requirement, however you want to put it. You got to have empathy to be able to forgive. And remember, I've said it many times, hurt people hurt people. Recognize that we all carry wounds. We all carry wounds, and I think once you recognize that, it helps open the door to forgiveness. I keep trying to think to myself, what kind of wounds causes a person to take something that causes them to put a knife in a friend's back? I don't know. That causes them to feel okay. How do they justify to themselves to feel okay to take something that wasn't theirs to take? I don't know. I am on the hunt. And I tell you what, if you've got any kind of ideas that I'm not coming up with, any positive inspirational things, any thoughts that I can think to help me be positive and to think positive and for me to get okay with this, please put it in the comments below. I would so appreciate it. Try to find a positive result from what you suffered, but recognize the injustice. Forgiving doesn't mean that you don't still see the injustice. And injustice is one thing I've always had an issue with. I think so many of us do. That's why we can't stand when a murderer goes free, or a mother, you know, she kills her children, you know, and they say she's insane. Well, hell yeah, she's insane. How can anyone do that and not be insane? That doesn't mean she doesn't need to be in jail. Forgiveness takes time, it takes patience, and it takes determination. Try not to be hard on yourself. And oh, believe me, I know how hard that is. I know exactly how hard that is. Forgive yourself. Honor your imperfectness. Don't allow yourself to slide into self-loathing. Practice self-compassion. Soften your heart towards yourself. Decide to forgive. You know, sometimes the hardest part, but makes it the easiest though, is just to make the decision. To make the decision to forgive. Once you make that decision, you know, it's not that you're not going to slide back and forth. You're still going to have moments. That forgiveness process takes time. You're going to feel like you've forgiven, and then you're going to have your bitterness moments. That's normal. But each time those bitterness moments, the anger will be less and less. At least for me it was. You get to the point where you can maybe make a joke about it, just like I'm doing about the, you know, the JO and the GPS, you know. At the time it wasn't laughable, but it's funny now. It's funny that I carry this big rock around everywhere I move. I mean, I have moved, this is my 5th time moving in 10 years. I have definitely been on a journey. I have been in a race ever since I left to find my place. I was chasing happiness because I spent so many years unhappy. And this rock goes with me because it's my symbol. You are not, no one is going to walk on me again. No one is going to step on me. No one is going to tell me what to do and how to think and how to feel and what to wear. And no. The last thing you have to do is you have to accept that you cannot change the past. Your anger towards the person doesn't ever, it doesn't redeem them. Your anger is doing no good. We've all heard the phrase, not forgiving someone and feeling bitterness towards them is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. Yeah, that's true. Here's my takeaways. I hope you get my takeaways. Deal with hurt feelings when they happen. Deal with things that irritate you when they happen. Deal with injustice when it happens. Deal with poor treatment when it happens. Deal with standing up for your beliefs when it happens. If you and your partner have different political views, you know, Republican, Democrat, you better get them resolved. There's no sense fighting over it. We are allowed to think differently. We are allowed to think differently. We can have satisfying relationships if we don't think the same on everything. We do not have to think the same on everything. I let way too much go to avoid confrontations and arguments, sleep deprivations. My husband, I mean, if we hadn't resolved something, there was no sleeping. It was this all night. I should have just hung in there and stayed with it and until I fixed it. If I had stood up, it would have ended a whole lot sooner with less hurt to other people. I don't think we'd have ever fixed it because we were too different. We were not a good match. We needed to just be apart. I can't remember if I said this already, but I'm going to say it again. Forgiveness is mercy. We extend ourselves and to others, whether they deserve it or not. You're giving mercy. I'll tell you, my mom is probably one of the people that can forgive the easiest. You can crap all over my mom. You can be so bad to her and she'll be angry, but you know, the minute you start talking nice to her, she's over it. She's done. She don't even need to talk about it. It doesn't need fixed. It's done. You're nice to me now. I also think it's important that when you feel things in your gut that's not right, listen to it. Listen to that quiet voice in your head. Listen to it and pay attention. Go hunt for the answers if you're just not sure. And finally, what works for me may not work for you. If you can take anything from my story, take that you just need to go inside and figure out for yourself what's right for you and what's not right for you. And if you have any forgiveness, unforgiveness issues, you need to go work on them. I hate to see you 10 years out, 8 years later from a divorce or whatever your case may be, your situation may be, and you're still dealing with it. It steals your joy. When you need help, call your family. Call your family, your friends, and let them help you. There are people that will help you. I couldn't have done it alone. I thank God every day for my family and friends. I have amazing family and friends. Did I lose some friends? Yeah, but you know what? They weren't my friends to begin with. You hear that all the time. If they're not there for you when you're going through a rough time, they're not your friends. That's pretty much all I have to say. I hope this is taken in the spirit it is meant. I hope it is helpful to someone. I'd like to hear your thoughts on whether it's helpful to someone or not. I would love to hear, like I said, I mean, any kind of advice you can give me to get over losing my horse, how I can be okay with that. I'll take it. I'll take it. So you guys have a good day. I'd like to end by mentioning a few things that greatly impacted me during the filming of this and after I was finished. The first was, I mentioned once about journaling, and I so wish that I had written stuff down as I went. I think it would have helped speed up the forgiveness process because that has been hugely helpful. I had no idea how life-changing that this would be, how much better I would feel. I did not realize the weight that I had till I started this. Like I said, I really thought I was over this years ago. So I can honestly say the last few weeks, I really feel like I'm at 100% forgiven my ex. I feel like I'm maybe 90% on the woman that took my horse, but I'm getting there. I'm going to follow the steps that I talked about at the end there and keep going, and hopefully maybe I will do a follow-up in a few months, let you know if the steps are working, if I found anything else that was helpful and where I'm at. I want to be at 100%. I want to be good with it. I don't like having bad feelings towards anyone. So I hope that this was helpful for you. I was shocked at the people that reached out to me and said they didn't realize how many more issues they had to deal with till they started watching my videos, and how it's already getting them to where they're willing to work on it and they're finding some helpful things. So I really hope it helps others as well. Thank you so much. If you watched all 3 of these all the way to the end, I so appreciate you. I know that was a long time. Thank you very much, and you guys have a nice day.